Welcome back to the Environmental Engineering Laboratory. In this today's part of the session, let us get to know what is meant by environmental analysis. In the previous part of the classes, you might have come across what are the different sampling conditions, how the sampling has to be done, as well as what are the different types of the sampling collection methods that are involved, how to store and go for the preservation. These are the set of the things that you have gone across from the previous set of the sessions. In this today's part of the session, let us get to know the analysis which is being conducted, whatever the parameters or the chemicals or maybe the biological or physical or any sort of the parameter, how it has been analyzed, what are the basis of analysis. Let us get to know one by one. Come on. In the environmental part of the analysis, mainly we come across the three distinct classifications. What are those? First one is mainly related to the gravimetric analysis. Gravimetric analysis. The second one is related to volumetric analysis. Volumetric analysis. And the third one is mainly related to the instrumental method of analysis. Instrumental method of analysis. Now let us go for taking what is meant by a gravimetric analysis. Here the term gravimetric mainly represents the analyzing a particular parameter, especially for the physical parameters such as like a solids that are being determined by the residue content or whatever the remaining or precipitated out content which is been remaining even after subjecting to the various type of the process, either maybe to the evaporation or precipitation or pyrolysis or what we call it as even the hot burning process. Okay, these are the set of the conditions based upon what is the initial weight of the content or the parameters or the substances that is being taken up. Either a solid or maybe a semi-solid substance is taken and then pre-weight is taken out. Further, they are being subjected either for the evaporation. In the case of the hot air oven, for determination of the solids, you go for the usage of the crucibles. And even if you wanted to find out whatever in the case of the residual content or maybe a dissolved content, you need to go for an muffle furnace. Okay, this is the procedure normally adopted in the gravimetric analysis. Why I am saying all these things? This basic part of the analysis, the criteria in the conceptual framework of environmental engineering laboratory. You need to identify whichever the parameters suitable for either a gravimetric or a volumetric or even the instrumental method of the analysis. Now, I will take on for the gravimetric type of the analysis. Whenever the errors are lesser in nature, if it is insignificant, then we go for the gravimetric analysis. Okay. Now, let us get to know what are the different type of the gravimetric analysis that you come across in the laboratory. First one we come across is mainly related to the method. I'm going to write it here, and the parameter. First parameter is mainly related to the determination of the solid content, either in the case of the water or maybe in the case of the wastewater or even either a domestic or the industrial wastewater. You need to identify what might be the solid content because it is clearly visible. That parameter has a critical importance in the gravimetric analysis. A total sum of the compounds which have been taken up, how much they have been retained, what are all the significance, you will getting to know in the subsequent part of the experimentation session. Okay. Now, here we have the residual solids. Residual solids. In the residual solids, you go across by evaporation method. Evaporation method, that is subjecting for the evaporation of all this content by keeping the crucible containing any liquid or maybe a semi-solid kind of the material and whatever the evaporated residual which has been left it out, that particular thing is measured, the difference in weight is calculated along with the multiplicable factors. Keeping it in the mind, next set of the parameter we have is related to suspended solids, and then what is the next you come across? Either a dissolved solid, suspended solids, dissolved solids, and the volatile suspended solids. Volatile suspended solids. Whole thing can be determined, the suspended solids, by the filtration method. What is the filtration method? Whatever the conical flask, if you take it in the laboratory, you place a filter paper along with a funnel. Okay, place here the filter paper. Whatever the amount of the solids which have been settling, that means they have been retained above the filter paper, that kind of the solids we call it as a suspended solids. And one which has been filtrated, the solids which is not clearly visible for the naked eye, that we call it as a dissolved solids. And volatile suspended solids is mainly obtained after the complete filtration process. This set of the parameters are very much important. Volatile, that is fixed volatile solids, fixed volatile solids can be determined by subjecting into the high temperature muffle furnace. That we call it as, in general term, as a pyrolysis. Okay. So these are the set of the parameters which have been designated under the category of gravimetric analysis. Now, what about in the case of the next set of the analysis? If you wanted to determine the unknown concentration of the chemical in terms of an volume, how much is the volume of the sample that you have taken, and to know the concentration, therefore you have to come across the another set of analysis, mainly the volumetric analysis. In the volumetric analysis, it mainly involves different set of the reactions, namely we call it as a chemical reactions. Let me take it on. What is meant by the volumetric analysis? It is the chemical reaction which mainly involves titration through the measurement in terms of an volume. Okay, this measurement in terms of an volume, where you need to determine what is the concentration, what is the normality of the given set of the solution, that is a standard volume is get to be known, and what is the molar ratio or what is the fraction is being taken, and what is the concentration that is being divided by what is the volume of the sample, or in other sense how much you have taken it. This will be going to give in terms like concentration is equal to done or carried out in the volumetric analysis through the knowing of the volume. Okay. Now another set is, if at all if you go for any set of the reactions, you cannot go for mixing of any of the chemicals as like you wish. There are certain standard set of the conditions, and right type of the mixture or the compounds are to be utilized, reagents or solutions are to be prepared, and further which kind of the compound or the concentration that you wanted to determine, a critical set of the parameters that you need to measure it, okay, by the titrometric method. Mainly this method, it offers the stability of the chemical compound as well as suitability and sensitivity suitability and sensitivity. Further, it is also having a clear stoichiometric analysis. That is, according to the law of mass action, concentration of the reactants converted in terms of an products. So, reactants converted in terms of an products. How the products are obtained? Either through the indicator, usage of the indicator. Has certain set of the classifications in the volumetric method. What are those? Let me go for the classification for it. Okay. And meanwhile, one important thing it is, here it removes the interference causing substances. For the determination of one compound, there may be chelation or complex formations or the reactions that has to be reduced. Okay. Now, in this set of the reactions and the parameters, how they have been analyzed, I am going to make which kind of the parameters, okay, what is the method that has been adopted and what is their significance. Okay. So, with respect to the usage of the method, parameter method is acid-base reaction method. Acid-base reaction method. In the acid-base reaction method, you come across mainly related to the acidity and alkalinity. Acidity and alkalinity. What is the indicator that is utilized? Based upon that, we have the color formation. Normally the methyl orange indicator as well as the phenolphthalein indicator. Phenolphthalein indicators. Next, we have argentometric, that is the precipitation method. Precipitation method. Precipitation method is normally carried out for the chloride content, and the indicator it is potassium chromate. Normally the formations of the red colors formation. Okay. This is mainly caused by the usage of the silver. We call it as a argentometric method. Argentometric method. Okay. Now it is clear. Complex formation. Complex formation means whatever the ligand or the salts that you are going to utilize it, especially carried out for the hardness or the multivalent ions. Okay. Hardness causing salts. The indicator here we are going to use the color which has been changing from the wine red to blue or like that particular sort. That is usage of EBT, or maybe in the case of the Murex indicator. 2 indicator you are going to use it. This is related to the, okay. Next set of the conditions, it is mainly based on the oxidation mechanism. That oxidation mechanism is mainly observed in the case of the Winkler's method, or what we come across as a determination of the DO content, that is a dissolved oxygen content, where the formation of the precipitation is also been taking place as well as oxidation is also taking place. Okay. Oxidation and with precipitation. This content is coming across in the case of the determination of the dissolved oxygen content. Finally, the indicator that is utilized is starch as an indicator. This is the oxidation reduction method. Okay, usage of the manganese sulfate, alkali hydride azide as well as even the sulfuric acid leads to the formation of the oxidation and reduction. Next set, again with the oxidation and precipitation method itself only, we have another set of the conditions in the determination of the chlorine. Indirectly, that is based upon both of them, they have the two categories, that is liberation of iodine. Liberation of iodine. That is from iodide to iodine is being converted by the usage of the starch as an indicator. Next condition we come across is related to the determination of the oxidation through heated process. So, heated oxidation process taking place, this through the precipitation, normal. Heated means we come across the usage of the chemical oxygen demand, where the titrant which is going to use is ferrous ammonium sulfate. For hardness, you go for using ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, EDTA method we call it as. DO, it is the Wrinkler's method. Ferrous ammonium sulfate is being considered here, and what is it indicator it is utilized? It is ferroin. Ferroin as an indicator how the complex formation takes place through the oxidation as well as reduction under the heated conditions, then it has to be cooled. So, next set of the conditions that you come across is mainly related to the instrumental method. So, whatever the laboratory components that you are going to study is mainly related to the titration. Whatever the known volume of the solution that you take it is known as a titrant. Titrant means the solution of having unknown concentration where the titration is being, we call it as a titrant. And determination of the end point or whatever the changes, it has to be taking place only through the changes in the color, so that the reaction has reached an equilibrium position. That is the basis for the volumetric analysis. Next set of the method of analysis we come across is instrumental method of analysis. Means some of the volumetric analysis has limitations. You cannot go for measuring in terms of in volume. Exactly, if you wanted a rapid test and all, the results are to be checked whether it has to be error free or not. On the such kind of a basis, you need to go for the instrumentation method of analysis. What are those? Let us get. Let us take upon for the instrumental method of analysis. Instrumental method of analysis are different types. What are those? Mainly either through the electronic aided circuit, where the sensors are being placed to determine the electrochemical reaction on that basis, or in the heated conditions how the reactions takes place, the emissions or maybe the absorbance based upon the spectrophotometry studies that you come across in the physics, okay, the dispersion of the light, where you go for using the electromagnetic radiation. By the usage of the electromagnetic radiations, we come across for the different set of the studies, either through the atomic absorption spectrophotometry or maybe the atomic emission, maybe UV or VIS spectrophotometer. Okay, a beam of monochromatic light has been passed through the slit, and the solution which is being made, which is a chemically oriented mixed solution, or the reagent is being passed, whatever the light that has been transmitted and observed has been checked through the aid of the sensors that displays in the form of the digital output. This kind of the measurement we call it as an instrumental method of analysis. What are those instrumental method of analysis? Let us get to know. Next we have again method and then parameters. What are those method we come across? It is mainly depending on the electromagnetic course of radiation. So, UV VIS spectrophotometry, in this, in the range of UV as well as the visible radiations, in some cases or the situation they go for using the infrared radiation, that we call it as a Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy, only for the determination of the organic compounds. So much of organic compounds are present in the nature, artificially prepared, that we cannot go for analyzing each and every one. Okay, that has been not there for your syllabus, only for your extra information. Next thing it is UV-VI spectrophotometer. It can be able to detect even the metals as well as the non-metals also. What are those? Maybe in the case of the fluoride, maybe chromium content, you can able to determine through the UV-Vis spectrophotometer, determination of the iron content, as well as for the non-metallic contents like nitrate. For the nitrate, the method that we come across is the PDA, phenol disulfonic acid method. For iron, we have a phenanthrolene method. For fluoride, we have a Spadon's method. For phosphate, determination of the phosphate, these are the nutrient compounds. Phosphate, we have the Vando, or we call it as a Vandate method. Vando molybdophosphoric acid, that we call it as a Vandate method. For ammonia, if you wanted to come across, it is the Nesslerization method. Nesslerization method. And for the sulfate, we have a barium crystal salts that has been utilized, heated and then determined. So these are only some of the lists which I have been given for analysis as per the APHA manual. Next set of the parameter, it is mainly related to the infrared spectroscopy. Okay, infrared spectroscopy. In this infrared spectroscopy, normally we go for determining the oil and grease, and their separation can be done through the centrifuge. You need to have a laboratory centrifuge for that. Next, atomic emission means whatever the amount of the light radiated that has been taken. So E is equal to sigma T to the power of 4. That phenomena has been working in the atomic emission. For that, we come across in the case of flame photometric method. Okay, flame photometry, directly the salts or any other thing through the aspiration, it has been heated up. When they have been burnt at a high temperature, the color will be tend to determine the concentration. The flame photometry or photometer, normally sodium, lithium, potassium and magnesium, you can go for determining it. Next set of the method you come across is electrochemical method. Electrochemical method. What is meant by electrochemical method? Series instituted to make a complete circuit cycle salt reaction where there is a passage of the electrons with respect to the given electrodes, cations with anode as well as anions with the cathode. Okay, so negatively charged particles that we come across, it is mainly having the charge opposite polarities. Okay, that constituent has to come across in this. So in this particular aspect, electrochemical method, mainly we have the glass electrode, so here in the glass electrode, you can go for the determination of the pH content, and ion selective electrode is also there. Ion selective electrode. For that, mainly different types of the ions. Maybe if you wanted to find out nitrate or dissolved oxygen content, you go for determining. Hatch is the one company where we are going to get the ion selective electrode. Okay, this is based upon the series of the electrochemical reactions. So ECR, electrochemical reactions, gives in the form of an output. Next set we come across is, maybe this is for nitrate, even for the chlorine also. Conductance method. Conductance method, it is tendency of ions which tends to pass a current, or maybe the ions which are being present in the water has a capability to perform, or what we call it as the carrying set of an electrons which constitute the electricity formation. That based on that difference, we also call it as a conductance. That means it is a reciprocal of an resistance. The property of a conductor to obstruct the flow of electrons, we call it as an resistance, or the property of any materials or a liquid which allows the flow of an electrons, we call it as a conductance. And mainly you go for determining the electrical conductivity as well as the total dissolved solid content. So these are the set of the category. Last two bit I wanted to explain here, it is mainly the biochemical method. This biochemical method is a one set of the conditions where series of the whole biological reaction takes place. Example is, you need to determine what is the bacteria as a driving factor. Mainly you go for determining the biochemical oxygen demand, where you come across for the standardized DO determination. From that itself only you come across the usage of the method. Okay, this kind of the method we call it as a BOD determination. It can be either an electrometric method or a separate kind of the method. Apart from the instrumental method, we come across is incubating the whole sample in a incubator, finally determining it. That's why we have a separate method, we have classified it. One more thing it is, if you wanted to determine the bacteria or maybe the fungi content, then you go for the techniques which we come across as pour plate method as well as spread plate method. Normally done for the bacteria as well as even for the fungi. So these are the set of the conditions which you go for coming to study in the case of environmental engineering laboratory. I hope so. From the instrumental method of analysis, volumetric method of analysis and gravimetric analysis, you have get to know what are the different steps or the principal procedures they have been adopted. Hope so you people have understood it properly, and let us get to know in the interaction part of the session one by one. Still then, stay tuned for it. Thank you one and all.